Well, hello and welcome again to another episode of the Triple C, Comics, Cosplay, and Cinema. My name is Jake. You guys know me as Foggy Knight, and joining me yet again is the man himself, Lee Lawson. Lee, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing fantastically well. Thanks for joining us, guys. We are excited to bring you another fantastic episode. Jake, what are we talking about today?
Oh, man. Well, we're going to be diving down into the video game realm, which I guess is not one of the triple C's, but we're going to put it into one of the C's. So we're here to talk about the phenomenon now that is The Last of Us, that has just dropped on HBO Max a couple weeks ago. Really the success of that game. And then just kind of go over other attempts at video game adaptations that have come across over the years, and then discuss maybe some, other games that we could see come into shows, movies, and just get your thoughts on that. But first and foremost, we would like to say thank you to our sponsors, Pneumatic State of Mind. Seeing the sweatshirt right here, the best beachwear and flip-flops you can get on the market. So thank you very much, Pneumatic, for sponsoring this episode. And let's dive into this thing. So I guess about 2 weeks ago, a little show on HBO Max that had a little hype called The Last of Us came out, which for most of you know is a very popular PS4 game that came out. I think, without being said, it's already a phenomenon. I mean, 2 episodes in at this time of recording, it's already had the most watched episodes in the history of HBO.
It broke the HBO Max app.
Yeah,
or crashed the HBO Max app, I should say. Yeah.
And I think it's already safe to say it's probably the best video game adaptation, maybe already. If not, it's quickly getting there. But what have your thoughts been on the first 2 episodes up to this point? And what was your, I guess, hype level or experience with The Last of Us prior to it coming out?
Well, first of all, you got me with any type of apocalyptic show.
Yeah.
I mean, that really, I do gravitate towards them.
Yeah.
And then he throws some type of form of a variation of a zombie in there. Dude, I'm there. You know what I mean? So I was definitely familiar with Last of Us peripherally a lot. My son has also played the game, both versions a lot. And so he was very excited about the show. So, of course, anything that we can watch together, because we will love that family wholesome stuff.
Yeah.
So,
you know what I always say? Nothing brings the family together like some zombies and some blood and tears. Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Yes. So I was definitely familiar with it, and if it was a game that I would play, if any game that I was going, I kind of don't have time to sit down and play a game right now.
Yeah.
But that would have been one of them, right? Because like I said, the whole scenario draws me to it. So I was very excited about it. I didn't really know what to expect really because I hadn't played the game, so I loved that a little bit better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not having any type of expectations really. Just know I was going to sit down and watch a great zombie type of apocalyptic show.
Yeah.
So far, man, didn't have any expectations, but if I did, they would have blown them away.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I was very excited about it. It's been great. I think Pedro Pascal, right? I mean, what a crazy year he's having.
Oh, he's going to have. It's the year of Pedro.
Yeah, I mean,
it really is.
Crushing it with this. Mandalorian comes out in a few months. I'm not sure if they're going to overlap or not.
Yeah.
But it comes out in March,
Yeah.
I think. So for him to have these 2 hit streaming shows, hats off to that guy. But no, I think it's been great. I love it. I do think for even gamers out there, it's not like a straight adaptation. So but it's straight enough to where they're enjoying
It's close.
it. You know what I mean? But also where they're throwing a lot of surprises in there. So it's not like, so they, even though you know the game, you can still be surprised at some of the characters' actions and things that happen to some of the characters and maybe their demise.
Yeah.
But no, I'm loving it, man. I think it's great. I've really enjoyed it so far.
Yeah. To touch on, I didn't play the game either. However, I think anywhere you looked on the internet or in previous chats over the years, usually The Last of Us is either number 1 or number 2 of like, this is probably the best story in a video game that's probably ever come out, or at least it's up there when discussed. So I had high hopes. For me, what really opened my eyes of really getting an idea of this show could be something special was, I don't know if you saw the show Chernobyl, the miniseries. It was phenomenal, and it won several awards, and the showrunner for that is the one who wrote The Last of Us. So when I knew he was doing it, and obviously bringing Pedro on, I was like, okay, this could be something awesome. Didn't think it was going to be that awesome. I mean, it absolutely blew the water out of any expectations I had. I love the fact that, yes, it is a zombie show. But it's different. It's not, there's so many, especially now, there's so many different zombie shows. The Walking Dead, you got something like just video games with zombies. It has its own little unique thing. And I love the fact that, and the reasoning of how it became, this fungal infection, and the fact that they made it realistic. I mean, granted, it would have to have some circumstances happen, but like if you look up, there's a documentary about, it's a real documentary about how a fungus can affect ants, and they talk about it in the opening of the show, which is what an amazing start of a show, just that whole scene. But if you look up this documentary, like that actually happens to ants with fungus. Like they literally get their mind warped and it starts eating their body, but doesn't let them die.
Right.
And, like it's a real thing that could actually, and I love that it's realistic enough where it's not just like this cookie cutter zombie show, and it's got you on the edge of your seat the entire time. And to your point, if someone would have told me that Mandalorian might be the second most popular show that Pedro Pascal would be in, I would have been like, you're crazy.
Yeah, no. And I will say, even though I was excited about the show, I was like, we've had 10, 12 years of The Walking Dead right now, right? And not just The Walking Dead, but then Fear the Walking Dead, and Tales of the Walking Dead, and then now we've got all these other 3 offshoots. I was like, what are they going to do different? You know what I mean? Or how can that make it different enough? And because I just didn't know enough about the game. Yeah. But that did cross my mind. And I can see how already this is, one huge difference is I might be able to make it in the Walking Dead world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're pretty slow. I'm not sure if I'm built to make it from those zombies that are booking it after me. You know what I mean? That never tire.
Yeah.
So that's
also that
one
clickers
fear.
Are so creepy. Like the sounds they make. It's just so eerie.
Yeah. No. And so I like the way it's just coming. Makes you want to come back for more, and kind of like The Walking Dead, shows like that kind of set it up. Game of Thrones shows of that era set it up to where just because you're a name character, or I'm sorry, a name actor, and you're kind of set up to be, you think you're going to be there for around, run. You know what I mean? So and that already happened. That's already happening. You know what I mean? With characters that you think are going to be there. Yeah. And I wasn't familiar enough from the game. Characters you think they're going to be there. Hey.
Yeah.
Oh, second episode?
Yeah. Yeah. And to your point, because I know what you're touching on in the second episode, and we're not going to really get into too many spoilers because if you haven't seen the show, but that is a little different in the game. But I've read and I've seen pretty much unanimously that any changes that they've made from the game is for the betterment of the story. And the gamers are like, this is even better than what happens in the game. Like there's not any complaints about, it's not, a lot of these game adaptations, we'll get into it, they don't necessarily, usually gamers are upset with the adaptation that comes. The changes they're making, they're like, this is even better. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that just shows how good of the storytellers it is. And it's core. And I think what makes it different as well is, yes, there's zombies. Yes, there's this huge pandemic and infection, but it's really about and they're not quite there yet, but a father and daughter. That's the core of the story, and that's where you can connect.
And I gotta go there too, because without spoilers, that first episode, again, not knowing what was going to happen, I was pretty traumatized.
Oh yeah, me too.
You know what I mean? Because that character is set up to really be the focal point.
Yes.
And I mean, of the show, even more than the character I'm talking about in episode 2. Yeah, you guys, characters are just leaving left and right. But but I was really surprised by that, because you also don't see people of a certain age in a lot of trouble sometimes. Yeah, you know what I mean. So I was kind of shocked by that, if that makes sense. Without getting into spoiler.
That scene was heavy, and I've seen people even play the game who knew that was going to happen. Like. Right. They nailed it. Like I was still like a mess, you know what I mean? And that just again shows how good this show is. I know they've already greenlit season 2.
They have.
But do you think this is gonna continue to be almost on the Game of Thrones kind of level of popularity as we continue to go on?
Unless the quality of the show, for some reason, let's say episode 3, which comes out here in a few days. Yeah. Totally dips, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Which I don't see happening.
No, I don't think so either, because like you said, it's got high pedigree of director and writer behind it. The acting's really good. Unless that quality dips dramatically, then I do think that they've got a huge hit on their hands and will have it, for the foreseeable future.
One thing that's funny, I'm curious if you think this, maybe you haven't even noticed, but when Joel gets older, does he not have a striking resemblance to Burt Reynolds? I was watching. If he's in his gym, like I feel like I'm watching The Longest Yard. It's so funny. He looks nothing like him in real life, but he looks so much like Burt Reynolds to me for whatever reason. But yeah, no, it's an amazing show. I can't. I'm already counting. I'm like more excited for The Last of Us than I am for like the NFC and AFC Championship game tomorrow. Which is like, I just want those games to get on with it so I can watch The Last of Us.
Right.
But
in the game, maybe you're not familiar. Is the character supposed to be that old in the game too? I mean, because he's like 56.
I believe so.
You know, as the story takes over, because you know the story starts off in one way, and then I think he's celebrating his 36th birthday. I was kind of taken aback by that too. I didn't realize he was going to be such an older character.
I think that's part of the game, but I'm not 100% sure. If you have played this game, please let us know.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it's great. In the acting performances, everybody is just been absolutely spectacular.
Anna Torv, she was in the show called Fringe that I watched a lot. She was the main character in that. And I think she does a great job. She's the girlfriend in the first episode. Yeah. You know, she's great. Like we mentioned, Pedro, the young girl. From
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones also. You know what I mean? Played the young queen, right?
Lady Mormont. Yeah, the little one.
Yeah, so now
she was a badass in Game of Thrones. Now she's even more of a badass.
Right?
Yeah.
And we've got Ron from Parks and Rec coming on there also. He's going to be making his debut in episode 3. They've got and you know, typically we see this guy in a lot of comedic roles. So I'd like that we're going to see him more.
I think it's going to be kind of like a Steve Carell kind of thing where it's like, oh, I didn't know he had that in him. You know what I mean? Although he was in the McDonald's movie and he played one of the McDonald's brothers back in it. He did a really good job in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've seen him a little bit. It's the one with Michael Keaton.
Yep, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm excited to see, what they have in store for him, obviously. I mean, yeah, this is just going to be an epic thing. But what's more impressive, and I think one thing we'll, touch on a little bit is typically in the past, games that have been translated to film or shows typically aren't the best of quality. I think that's being very kind to movies that have.
They've had a terrible time.
For years,
right? There's been two outliers.
Yeah.
That have happened before. I would say in the past 6 years, it's probably changed. 5 years, maybe it's changed, right, to where it's gotten better. But before that, even a lot of those game adaptations failed. There was one, Alone in the Dark or whatever. There was I could just keep going on in Street Fighter, right?
Yeah.
They all just didn't do well. But there was two. One, the first Mortal Kombat came out in the 90s. Even though you might look back at it now and it might not be as high quality, but it was a hit. That one was a guaranteed, bona fide hit when it came out in the box office. And then after that, then part 2, of course, flopped. But then that killed game adaptations for a bit. But then we had Angelina Jolie in Tomb Raider. And then that one was a huge hit. And then part 2 flopped, Cradle of Life, and then she went away for a while.
Yeah.
But then those were really it, right? Those were it.
Yeah.
There were so many things that had tried in the meantime that flopped and failed. But we've had an influx here in the past few years. I don't even know what started it, but I know like
Detective Pikachu probably.
Detective Pikachu's one. The Sonic, both of those were hits.
Yep.
My gosh, the new Mortal Kombat. But that was a hit though, and they're making
financially.
I'm not saying but it was a hit. I don't even know. Critically, it might have been not so great, but it did well. Yeah. But I'm talking about this is and Uncharted.
Yeah.
Uncharted did really well also. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also,
pandemic.
Yeah.
So those are some good.
But even those within that, you got good audience, maybe box office, but you get a lot of people that are also unhappy with where, like Pikachu, to your point, the first Mortal Kombat, and now Last of Us are the first one to truly get everybody across the board. They're like, yes, it's very rare. And for you growing up, did you play video games? What was kind of your past with games? And then we'll dive into some fun.
What did I play? I played, there was Zelda, of course. I've always gravitated towards fighting games. That's really been my jam. So you put a good fighting game in front of me. I mean, even like the original Street Fighter, the original Mortal Kombat, and then any variation or any new one after that, right? But Tekken Soul Calibur. Those were my games. That's what I really enjoyed. But going back to that, there was Zelda, there was Super Mario before all of those that came out. I loved the game. This is going back. I'm looking at you older people out there. There was a game called Joust, which I loved.
What is that?
I know. But so I went back a little bit. But I loved that game. To this day, I still do. Those were really fun games for me. But even the Sonic game. Yeah. I remember when I got the Sega, and because at that point Nintendo was dominating.
Oh yeah,
right. And they had some people that kind of tried to come out and
Atari.
They failed. Well, Atari, even before Nintendo, Atari did really well.
Yeah,
the 2600, the Atari 400, those things like that. But then Sonic though came out, and that put the Sega on the map. You know what I mean? There's a really good documentary that I watched, the Nintendo Wars, which was really, really good. They kind of talked about all that. And once they found that Sonic mascot, then they blew up. But no, I mean, really, those are the games that I played, that I really enjoyed. What about you, man?
I started with Sega Genesis as a really small kid. I remember the first couple games I remember playing was Sonic, as well as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game. They also had an X-Men game, which still to this day is like, I don't think I've ever gotten past level 1. It's like the hardest game ever. But that was one. And then as I grew, got a little older, the first PlayStation 1, I was big with Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon.
Okay.
I've been playing Madden since Madden 94 when like they didn't really have numbers. It was just like they're all the same and whatever. NBA Jam was a big
NBA
one for
Jams.
me.
I loved that game, dude.
And then
On Fire.
Oh yeah, it was great. Yeah. And then we moved on N64, obviously with Mario Kart, as well as Pokemon Stadium. I was big into, and then as an adult, I was. Played hours of Call of Duty and Halo and raged more than I've ever raged in my life at people that I've never met over sniping me in the head and all, campers and all that good stuff.
Well, before that, you said it was Call of Duty is what you said? No, the last one you just mentioned?
Call of Duty and Halo. Yeah.
So before even those, right? Yeah. There was, and I totally forgot. I loved Mario Kart also. I forgot about my 64 stage because there was Mario Kart, but GoldenEye.
Oh yeah,
GoldenEye, I love.
Yeah,
I mean, that was when I've always had this problem. I would love to play other games but the first person view game, kind of messes me up. I get a little queasy and stuff like that, but I just do. But if it's like 4 squares for whatever reason, for Call of Duty and stuff, these days at least I hear my son down there. He's playing with people all over that spread out. You know what I mean? You're playing everywhere. GoldenEye, I miss the days where you could play 4-player GoldenEye, you and your buddy you and your 3 friends on the couch, and that's where you guys are just going at it and talking trash to each other and shooting. So that I played a lot. I did a lot of that. Too.
Yeah,
GoldenEye and Mario Kart for 64 times.
Okay,
so those were good.
Good. Okay, so we're both gamers. So I guess you're big in Nintendo. Obviously, Nintendo's taking it one step further. They got their own studio coming out.
Yeah.
So we have Nintendo Studios. The first movie within that, I guess, technically was Detective Pikachu would be within that space, but the Super Mario movie is coming.
Yeah,
Mario. I'm very excited. It looks good.
Are you not? So you not one of the people who were up in arms about Chris Pratt?
I mean, wouldn't be my first choice, but again, I'm more as long as the movie's good. I don't care whose voice.
Cast.
Yeah, it really does.
I mean, that cast is
great.
You got Jack Black.
Oh, him as Bowser's fantastic.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's got a lot of people in there that's gonna elevate it. Charlie Day.
Yep.
I don't know if you know him from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Absolutely,
fame.
yeah.
He's going to be in there. Just some great comedic actors.
I mean, even within the trailer, you just see so many homages to, the Mario Kart. You see a little bit of that in there. You see, you see Bowser, you see Donkey Kong make an appearance. I mean, just it's wild. But as far as the Nintendo side of it, are there any
Seth Rogen? He's in there.
Seth Rogen, yeah. The being at the studios, obviously they're going to make more movies, or shows. Do you envision any particular title that you personally would like to see made into, something on the big screen, or just think they're going to do in general?
So if we're sticking solely with Nintendo, which is
we'll start there. We'll start with Nintendo. Yeah.
Then the first one that comes to mind. There's 2 that come to mind. Can I say 2?
Yeah.
All right. First one is Metroid.
Yeah.
Yeah, Metroid to me.
Space battle.
Yeah,
Let's go.
dude, that Janus, the brain or whatever the fought at the end. That I love that game. You know what I mean? And I'm surprised actually that we haven't, and maybe it'll happen, that we haven't seen any type of adaptation that's been at least tried to make that into a show or even maybe there was a cartoon, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But a show or a movie of some sort, and maybe hopefully this Nintendo movie is a hit, so they will continue on and dig into the trenches and get that. But Metroid is one, and then of course you can't talk about a Nintendo movie without talking about Zelda.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So those are two that I think
that's honestly the biggest one to me that I'm shocked more than any that's never been made. Like I just would have thought somebody would have tried at this point. Okay, it's probably I was really young for like the early. Is that like their big? Would you say it's like their main biggest title is Zelda?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if still now, but back then when it very first came out, Zelda made a huge splash.
Yeah,
huge splash.
Now, would you like live action or animated with Zelda?
Oh, I'd probably get down with more of a live action.
Yeah,
Zelda.
Yeah, and I think that translates good to a movie.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I know I said Metroid, but yeah, it is very surprising too that they haven't done that. And if they do you foresee it as a movie or do you see that as like an adventure
series?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It really depends. I mean, we're getting to the point now the qualities of the shows are getting so good that you have so much more time to develop a story for a character like, I mean, there's so many versions of it now, and I feel like it would take a long time to build that story instead of just try to cram it in 2 hours or whatever it might. So maybe a TV show.
Yeah.
To touch on for me, I think, and obviously this is all dependent. I don't know how much they're tying into the Super Mario Brothers movie with the lore. Obviously we saw like Mario Kart, but for me, I also have Metroid and Zelda as two that I would obviously like to see. I think you're going to see spin-offs if it does well. Luigi's Mansion, I think, is going to be obviously something that's potentially done. Donkey Kong Country, like the main Donkey Kong game that's focused on him would be cool.
Yeah.
And then Super Smash Bros, just a movie of them together. Again, I don't know how much they're going to already tie that into the Mario movie, but that would be really cool to see, that get built upon as more of like a franchise of itself. And I do think Detective Pikachu has some more to it as well. I think doing something with and they kind of touched a little bit with the Pokemon Stadium thing, but Pokemon's huge, man. Like
it is huge.
And I like that. I thought it was actually really charming, that movie with Ryan Reynolds. So if you could get him to come back and voice
and Justice Smith, I think.
Yeah,
right?
they did great.
Actor,
so I think those, but to your point, I think those would be the big ones for Nintendo.
They are. And then but if you want to go past them, right? I mean, do you even know the game Mega Man?
I've heard of it. Yeah,
you have heard of it. He was a pretty popular character that's out there back in the day. I guess for Nintendo, I mean, I think those three, like we talked about in our previous show, the pillars, I guess, the Trinity almost would be those. Would be the Link and the Mario and that Metroid.
Yeah.
Right? Or is that, you think that's
Metroid would be cool? I think that'd be a really cool space tale. You know what I mean? It's such a cool story. So I think that I would say that would be the big three for me too.
Yeah.
And then obviously, in The Last of Us is really, I think, going to catapult this. We know going forward that there's like God of War's in the works as far as coming out with the show. That's the other one. Usually when it comes to stories, before that you're like, oh, what would you like to see? It's usually God of War, Last of Us, God of War, The Last of Us. And I'm glad that's coming. There's so many, in this day and age with Twitch and streaming and gamers and professional gamer. I mean, you can go to scholarship for gaming now in college. Yeah. It's like, wow. My brother was like a little bit too early. He was like, my brother, by the way, was like ranked like 700 in Halo in like the world when the first Halo came out. It was not fun because I always had to be the other guy playing in the split screen, and I was just like a headshot. Like it was horrible. But anyways, what other video games in general across the board now we got?
Well, let me ask you this real quick. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
So I mentioned Tomb Raider. What I didn't mention is the new reboot that they tried to do a few years ago, and for whatever reason, it didn't succeed.
Yeah.
Did you like that?
No.
You didn't like it.
I didn't like it. I didn't hate it.
It was looked at as more of a prequel.
It was same for Uncharted for me. Like I felt like it was a good movie, but it didn't feel like Uncharted.
It didn't.
Like I wasn't Nathan Drake.
And you played you know those games. Okay.
It was a good movie, but it wasn't Uncharted to me.
Gotcha.
Like
Okay.
it didn't feel like the game.
I brought the Tomb Raider up because I guess for years they dangled a sequel to that new one that came out a few years ago, but they just recently announced that sequel's not moving forward.
Yeah.
And now they're doing a show.
Yeah.
So
I would love to see one where her and Nathan are cross.
teaming up.
Yeah, I mean, it's always like the them two.
Throw Indiana Jones in there.
Why not? You know,
All these archaeologists.
So,
and adventurists.
What's his name? Brendan Fraser can come back as Rick O'Connell. Be good. Yeah, that would be. I mean, they've tried. I think it's hard too because to your point, the first Tomb Raider with Angelina was a hit.
It was huge.
And I still think when people say Tomb Raider, that's what they think of.
Right.
Which is wild. You think enough time had passed to reboot it, but
I can't believe we actually skipped over that. We talked about some of the ones that didn't work.
yeah.
Super Mario Brothers.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember
I
that?
don't even remember that existing until you just said that. So that's how bad that.
Dennis Hopper as one of the not Oompa
No,
Loompas,
that's been purposely erased from my brain.
John Leguizamo as Luigi and Bob Hoskins as as Mario. I forgot all about that. So it's taken that came out in 1993.
Yeah.
It's taken us that long. The movie was so bad that it took them almost 30
3
years.
decades.
Yeah. Before they attempted another one again.
I mean, it's time after time. I mean, it's just been. I mean, there's so many games that have come out that have just been flat out bad.
Yeah.
Like just bad, like unwatchable. But
the Hitman movies.
yeah.
Do you remember them? No.
I purposely
Purposely ignored them. Yeah.
You're just naming stuff that's been erased from my brain.
But what were you going to say though?
But that being said, I think also the development of newer games has a lot to do with it. You know what I mean? I think, before, Sega Genesis, the games were so, not that they weren't well written but they were pretty in scale in retrospect compared to some of these games today, like The Last of Us, where it's such a immersive, free for all world, that it's a lot harder to adapt some of those games and turn them into, these amazing stories. Whereas now there's amazing stories that are already in video games that you could just yank out and stick on. The Last of Us is, I mean, I would say for what I've heard from the gamers, 95% of the show is the game. Mm-hmm. And it's perfect. You know what I mean? And there wasn't something like that before. I think that has something to do with it.
No, I agree with you. You're right? The writing is there, and they've kind of already given it to them and said, "Hey, now you got to just recast with live action, and you're good to go." You know what I mean? Or reanimate or whatever you want to do. No,
I mean, to your point, I mean, it goes back to our before the new DCU and stuff. They go back. If someone just did one of the Arkham games and just recreated Arkham Asylum or Arkham, the movies would be huge.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I know they even take a little bit of those games when making some of the films, but I mean, just the amount of lore that they can pull from. So what are some of the games off the top of your head from other systems that you were like, oh, this would be just dynamite?
Red Dead.
That's the big one for
Red
me,
Dead
too.
Redemption right there.
We don't have enough Westerns anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? I would love, that's the main one I would love to see is a Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah. I think that with the open world, the stories
dark
there.
One. Dark Western.
I think that is prime for the making. And
Scotty's
I
would.
think Scotty's would be great, right? He'd be a great choice, man.
Yeah, not to be basic with the Eastwood choice, but
I mean, he would be living, he would be carrying the baton from his father and all the Westerns that he did.
Bring him in for a cameo.
I think that's a great idea.
Go.
Very good, actually. Very good choice. But I think, because I think you just said this, so I'm repeating what you said, but because of Red
Dead Redemption.
Because Last of Us
Yeah.
was such a huge hit that whatever ones that were in production will be even greenlit even more. You know how Hollywood is, right?
Yeah. It's
they try to imitate.
They see the cash grab.
Yeah. So I think we're going to all of a sudden get a lot of announcements, maybe even from HBO,
Oh, yeah.
And to maybe that'll be the hub.
Would Red Dead, is that something you'd want to see as a show?
Oh, I think it could be a good show.
I think it's a series for Red Dead because you could do all these epic Western, adventures and stuff like that. And it's cool. We see so many Westerns where it's based off the hero and, He's not exactly. He's kind of not the guy that, there's, oh, I'm here to save the day. So it would be cool to see that version of, and just Westerns in general are so cool. So that's one. Another one for me, I know that Paramount Plus has done an attempt at the Halo show. Say what you want about that, but I think.
I didn't even watch it, so I don't even know.
Yeah,
but
it's not
so
the
you
best.
being a Halo fan.
Yeah. I mean, I get, in my adult life, Halo's the biggest game that I can say I mean, it was, that first one especially was just massive. A lot of people that I know got Xbox just because Halo was an Xbox game, not a PlayStation game. The show had some good moments, but overall, I think, I would love to see a high-end Halo movie. And they change a lot in that show to the game. Like, it's not accurate at all.
And it's funny you bring that up because I remember when it came out, but I don't even think that made a big splash culturally, pop culture wise. The show, that is.
Oh yeah.
For being the game that is so popular, as you said, and it is, right? Or isn't it still, or has it it's lost some of its popularity?
It's still pretty damn popular.
Okay. I remember when it came out, but it didn't make that. I don't think it really did anything.
Well, I can put it like this
to help him.
He's in the Master Chief total outfit for about 5% of the show.
See, I hate when
and he never takes his helmet off in the game.
Right.
So first episode, he takes his helmet off, and people were like, "Nope, I'm out."
Yeah.
And he didn't get back in the suit until the last episode. So you had all this story about just a guy, and it's like, I don't want to see the guy. I want to see Master Chief killing aliens, and it's just so different from the game. Which is a lot of mistakes that they pull too far away from what make these games great, you know, and these stories great. So Halo's one I would like to see done over and done right.
I was about to name another show that came out this past year. And before I did that, I was like, oh my gosh, we skipped a whole other fairly successful movie franchise, actually. Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Resident Evil actually, was pretty consistent. And they came out, they were guaranteed to make money. So that, I got to go back and kind of realign from what I said, is that one definitely was
give it its due. It did good.
That did well. Now, I know it veered a lot from the storyline of Resident Evil.
Yeah.
And then in the past year, they had two different attempts, right? They had the Netflix show that came out and was canceled. Came out and was canceled within a month's time. You know what I mean? So it didn't do well. Did you check that one out at all? Were you even a Resident Evil? No. Okay. And then they had Welcome to Raccoon City.
No.
that came out also. That came out. Both of these were not having to do with the original Resident Evil storylines.
Yeah.
Or Resident Evil story with Mila Jovovich.
Yeah, whatever.
Is that right? Yeah. Didn't have her in it, or didn't have anything to do with her storylines. This was Welcome to Raccoon City was a total straight reboot, and people said that actually was more like the game. You know what I mean? Gamers actually said it was more true to the game, but for whatever reason, it didn't find its audience. So it didn't do very well, and it flopped. And then like I said, the show came out and flopped also, which was kind of, it's not so.
Here's kind of a cult following in a game that's really, really popular, really, really big. That'd be curious. Do you think a Grand Theft Auto would do well?
They already made that. It was Miami Vice. No, I'm just.
I was like, wait a minute, what?
No, or Scarface. No, yes, I think it would. It's almost like you said with Red Dead Redemption, right?
I love redeeming redheads.
Yes, redeeming redheads. It's the storyline's there.
Yeah.
Right? Now, were you a Grand Theft Auto guy?
Oh, yeah.
Now, is there a particular Grand Theft Auto that you think is better suited for the movies, or any of them?
I would just grab the John Wick guys and be like, make Grand Theft Auto. Make it crazy. Get Keanu Reeves, for crying out loud. I don't like. To me, it's supposed to be over the top, and I think you could make, kind of like how John Wick. It's a great story, but it's like over the top, and it's just like fun. Like that's the kind of tone I think they should do for something like that if it was to work. I could see a lot of ways of it being bad. If you do it, but if you do it right, I think there is an audience for it of people that would want to see it.
Yeah.
It'd be cool.
Yeah, well, it would definitely be good, and it's built in, like you said. I'm surprised actually that it really.
That's another one. Yeah, I'm surprised
because that game's been huge for years. I mean, when it drops, it's guaranteed. You know, what is it, Rocksteady?
I believe so.
Is that who the gaming company is that does that? So yeah, I'm surprised that hasn't been. It was actually on my thing as well. Another game I think they should redo, and they've tried. I said I was a huge fan of fighting games.
Yeah, Street Fighter.
There you go. Street Fighter, man.
Yeah.
They tried that. They tried it twice.
Yeah.
Tried it once in the 90s with Jean-Claude. I won't say anything else. And then they actually rebooted it, or tried to reboot with the girl who played Lana Lang.
Okay.
But that was more like The Legend of Chun-Li, I think is what that was called. And that just didn't even, I don't even know if that opened up in the top 10 of movies.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like it wasn't even in the, if it was like number 9 or 10 that weekend when it came out. So that flopped. But no, I think a well done rendition of Street Fighter would do well also.
Do you think the new Mortal Kombat that came out, would you continue that story, or would you maybe wait a few years and start over? Because I know they did rush a lot of the storyline into that first movie, and they didn't really, well, it did fairly well, but
it did. And it probably would have done really like it. I think it was.
It was during the pandemic.
It was during the pandemic, so it came out in theaters and HBO Max the exact same day.
Yep.
That's when they were doing that. Warner Brothers was doing that experiment.
That was
that
was a dumb move
during 2021, and but it did well financially, so they are going to make a sequel. I say why not just do better.
Try one more.
Yeah, with that same storyline.
Yeah.
Do better, make it a little bit more, refine the story a little bit, give some people some more better character motivations and things like that. Develop the characters a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's funny to say that.
When
right?
they killed Goro off on the first, I was like, already?
Yeah.
Okay, good luck.
Yeah.
But to your point, another one I know that's been talked about, I think Dave Bautista's attached to it and has been for years, is Gears of War.
Yeah.
That's one I would love to see being made, especially living in Raleigh. They made that game down in Raleigh at Apex, I believe. But anyways, that's a dream role for him. I think he released at least a clip of him picking up the gun and saying about effing time.
Yeah.
So I think that's going forward. That's another storyline I think could be really cool. I don't know if you played that game growing up. It's more of like a darker version of Halo, and a lot of the around that time games kind of were spin-offs of Halo to some degree. I know Anthem and Overwatch are kind of other games that I could see.
I know those.
As far as games, obviously they're usually played by and have an audience for younger crowd. I could see like an animated Crash Bandicoot or Spyro
doing in the same
maybe
thing.
Targeted towards a younger crowd, being successful.
Yeah, I think so.
More than Echo the Dolphin back in the day.
So would
remember Echo?
Yes, I do remember Echo the Dolphin. Yes,
just play the game as a dolphin.
You just swam. But okay, so then if you're doing Crash Bandicoot, are you doing it? And I don't know enough about it. Well, no. Are you bringing in these characters to Earth? You know how they did Sega, or not Sega, Sonic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They always have to like, or are you doing somehow these characters find themselves on Earth and now they're
I just
trying
to don't crash on his island with the tiki dude and okay, so I'm thinking more like How to Train Your Dragon kind of style animation.
Gotcha. Okay.
Targeted for kids specifically, or like Despicable Me.
Okay, well then yes,
like
I think that would be
or Spyro. Spyro's kind of probably a little close to How to Train Your Dragon, but those are just ones I can think of that would be good game, adaptations going forward. But it's gonna be hard. The Last of Us, I think, is setting the bar.
I really do. Bar really high, my friend.
I really think so. But going forward, I'm excited for more games coming out. I think Red Dead's the main one. We also see a lot, a little veering off the video game route, but board games also. We have Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
We have Henry Cavill being attached to Warhammer. That's going to be coming. That's going to be huge.
What you forgot about The Witcher?
The Witcher is.
Isn't that that's a fairly successful game adaptation.
Not going to be anymore, but it was.
Yeah, I know, right? Are you not happy? You mentioned Cavill, it made me think of that.
No,
you're not going to follow it with Hemsworth.
No,
the
Cavill's gone.
The younger
gone.
Hemsworth.
No, I'm gone. Henry's gone. I'm gone.
Is he playing a different character, or is he just taking up the mantle?
So
no, I'm saying.
No, he's Geralt. Yeah, he's Geralt. Yep, Liam.
Liam's going to play.
For what I read, I think Henry always said he'd play Geralt as long as they were faithful to the books. And I think season 3 or 4 now they're like started veering away, and he was like, nope.
Now, do you think this is kind of going a little bit into what we talked about outside of the game realm, because we're Cavill? Do you think that him thinking he was going to be Superman had anything to do with him stepping away from the Netflix show?
No, because I had read he had made that decision like months before. They even asked him to come back for the Black Adam thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was all about the story. And I think honestly, if you know, Henry's my dude, so I like he like Warhammer's like his thing. Like he goes to like the Warhammer like HQ and he like paints his figures. Like he's so I think this is like his dream project.
Right.
And I think he might have stayed if he wasn't had Warhammer kind of on the front. Mm-hmm. But since that's going to be such a big thing, especially with Amazon and the money they throw out, I think that's, and I'm excited to see what they go with that, because that's a cool game.
Yeah. What was that game adaptation, Jake? And I don't even know why I'm bringing it up, because at the risk of us not being able to remember it, because I know I can't. The one that came out a few years ago that was really special effects. They had these creatures and they were...
World of Warcraft?
Is that what it was? Warcraft? Maybe. Yes, Warcraft. That was a movie, right? That came out a few years ago.
That's a huge game. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I couldn't remember the name of it, but it was
that's
Warcraft.
A huge one.
The name of the title was just called Warcraft.
Warcraft. Yeah.
The movie was.
Yes.
All right. I don't know anything about the game. Didn't see the movie.
My brother.
What did you?
I hope he doesn't matter if he sees it. He's been huge into World of Warcraft since he was like a kid.
Right.
And he said it was very different from the game. Mm-hmm. The world. So I don't think it did well at all from critics or
like at 50 million.
Yeah, which for that, I think if they did that right, I think that's another one I think should be more like a show. Mm-hmm. Kind of like Rings of Power, that kind of epic scale.
Right.
But yeah, World of Warcraft is one of the biggest games, if not maybe the I don't know whether that or D&D, like per player's, a bigger game, but that's definitely something I would like to see them revisit at some point.
So you before I interrupted you went to D&D, right?
Yeah.
And you're talking about the board games, movies, and things like that.
Jumanji. Look how big Jumanji was.
Yep, but I never actually don't know if Jumanji was actually a game though.
But the board game to me. I remember it as a board game.
You do what? I didn't realize there was a Jumanji board game.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think that might have been a board game that was.
Well, I don't know. I got it. I was like 4 years old when that movie came out, so I don't know if the game is already in existence or not. But I had Jumanji as a kid,
right? As
a board game.
Oh, okay. Well, but let's switch gears. You went to the board games. There have been more leaning towards those games, right?
Yeah.
So Battleship was one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't like that.
No. Risk would be an interesting one.
Yeah, Risk would be good. Risk, nice little war game.
Yeah.
Strategic war game. Why am I brought this up because I feel like I thought there had been like a influx of games based on board games recently, but am I wrong about that?
Well, I know D&D's got 2 things coming out recently, and then we got it's just Barbie. We got toys, and there's games that go along with Barbie, and that's coming out as a movie. There's just tons.
Yeah, there is. But for some reason, I really thought there had been like some board games that had been made into movies recently that for some reason I cannot think of. I know Clue was years ago. Was that remade recently?
That'd be a good one to come back.
Yeah, I loved that movie back in the day.
Maybe Candyland for.
They are making that.
They are?
They're making a Candyland game.
Oh.
Maybe they just haven't been released yet. But the Ouija was one.
Oh, okay.
That was some people look at that as a game.
Yeah.
I don't look at it as a game.
We know a guy who might.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. So they did that. But back to the Dungeons and Dragons. That I had friends that played it, and I've played it throughout the years that I've known. I've never played that game before. But I know the movie looks really good.
It does, yeah. And it seems like a very I like the blend of the adventure scale, but it seems like it's gonna have some funny moments.
Oh, great! Yeah,
it's got a great cast.
Mm-hmm. Chris Pine.
I can't wait for Chris Pine.
Michelle Rodriguez,
my brother from another. No, I'm really excited because again, going into it not really knowing a lot about the game, I'm really hoping that it's good so I can kind of learn about the world more than because I just know that it's a big deal in some of the basics of the game, but not really a lot about the realm.
Audience. People of a certain age will remember that what I know about it, there was basically, I remember the games, but there was a really good cartoon that came out back when we were growing up that dealt with, it was like ran for a couple years on CBS, that was popular still to this day enough to where that cast of characters from that cartoon, that little group of people, are going to be making an appearance. They're not playing the character. Chris Pine and them aren't playing them, but that group of cartoon characters or characters from that cartoon will be making an appearance as a rival group.
Oh, that's cool.
As one of the rival groups that are looking to steal or get back whatever they were. Yeah, the game was really good. The cartoon about these kids who took a ride somehow and they found themselves, they were kids from Earth that somehow find themselves trapped in this Dungeons and Dragons, and they had characters that would come from the games and things like that in there. So I that part I'm excited about seeing them in the Dungeons and Dragons movie. Also.
Yeah. One crossover I think would be cool would be taking, because you mentioned Clue, would be taking Ryan Johnson's like Knives Out franchise and somehow mixing that into Clue.
Yeah.
Like get I forget Daniel Craig's character's name. It's like like him and Colonel Mustard. Like let's just throwing it out there. That should happen. I mean, there's so many games, even within, I know I touched on it briefly with the Arkham games, but to, shift gears back to video games, even within major franchises like, Star Wars, we got Fallen Jedi, we have Star Wars Battlefront games that are massive. Could you see them at any point doing their main movies based off of one of those games, or like maybe Fallen Jedi?
Yeah, Fallen Jedi I think lends itself more.
I do too. Yeah,
you know what I mean. But yeah,
or Knights of the Old Republic back in the day, or Force Unleashed with.
That's the one I was going to talk. That's what I was going to bring up. The guy with
Dang, what's his name?
Star Destroyer or something like that, or Star Crusher.
It's Star Lord.
But it's got that guy who played. It's got the guy who plays him is the
Maul, the voice of Maul from.
Yes, Sam. He played Doomsday.
Yeah.
in Smallville.
Yeah,
his name's Sam something or other.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, but yes, yeah, that would be good.
I think so too. I mean, there's some, and again, like the Arkham games as well. They're great stories that could be adapted. And nowadays you have like real actors playing.
Oh yeah.
Those characters through the cutscenes and stuff.
Well, speaking of which, The Last of Us actually has a character.
Yeah.
Lifted. Well, all the characters are from the game, obviously, but there's an actress who played one of the roles in the games who's playing that exact same role. I think she's the leader of the Resistance or something like that, or the leader of the Fireflies. Yeah. The ones who sent Pedro Pascal's character out there. That lady is the same actress who played that same role in Last of Us.
That's cool.
So that was.
I know the girl who plays Ellie in the game auditioned to. Usually's up. They thought about bringing her on as Ellie for.
Oh, that's cool.
The show.
Nice.
It's cool, but I think they made the right choice.
Yeah.
She's good. Yeah, I mean, there's so many.
I hope
games.
your friend's not watching this show right now.
Sorry. So, thanks for joining. Subscribe, maybe sponsor us. That'd be great. Yeah. But no, I think we're going to see a big influx of games, whether board games or video games, thanks to The Last of Us, I think, that are going to, come as shows, come as games. So, we're really excited. We definitely can't wait for Sunday for The Last of Us to come back on.
Yep.
So let us know what you guys think of The Last of Us, what video games or board games, as a kid, would you like to see turn into a show, a movie? Let us know your comments in the description below. Thank you again for joining us here on the Triple C. Please hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much to Nomadic State of Mind for sponsoring this episode. As always, thank you to Morrisette Media. And Lee, it's been fun gaming with you, my man.
Indeed, my friend. It's been a lot of fun. Guys, thanks again.
Take it easy.